Hello, and welcome to Baha'i Blogcast, with me, your host, Rainn Wilson. This is where I interview members of the Baha'i Faith and other friends from all over the world about their hearts and minds and souls, their spiritual journeys, what they're interested in, and what makes them tick. Enjoy. Hello there, it's me, Rainn Wilson. You're listening to Baha'i Blogcast. And, oh man, I'm so psyched to be sitting in the kitchen of Aija and Andy Grammer. Not Aija Grammer, though, right?
Well, actually, my bills all say Aija Grammer.
Oh, okay, good.
But I mostly just go by Aija.
I love that you have bills. So,
yeah, everybody's got bills.
Yeah, we got bills to pay.
Yeah.
Two musicians and Baha'is, and I'd love to have a conversation with them. Thanks for having me in your kitchen. I know we've got a couple of stray dogs wandering around here. Can you tell the listeners about the dogs in the background?
Well, one of them belongs to us, and one of them belongs to our brother-in-law we are dog sitting for. But we do a lot of dog rescue, so you can often find a myriad of animals wandering through the halls.
Dogs, especially dogs. Dogs are the best.
Yeah. But what's his name again?
His name is Costas. And
Costas.
He's a rather large pit, maybe.
He's an enormous neurotic pit bull. Like I've
neurotic
never seen
pit bull.
He's
before.
he has the mentality of a small chihuahua, but he's large.
It's like he wants to crawl inside of you and live there.
He feels safe near
I gave him a big bath this morning, and Aija was taking pictures of me through the glass with this enormous animal in the shower. It was ridiculous. I don't think that's fair. That's not fair game to
And then
post.
who's the other naughty little one?
That's Lucy. She's our French bulldog, and she's super indignant, but really cute.
Just the best.
She's adorable, but I noticed that you're like, Lucy, come, and she runs the opposite
She's
direction.
like, nah, I'm good, thanks.
She's a rebel.
Only when she wants.
So Andy Grammer, you guys probably don't need any introduction to. He's a multi-platinum selling recording artist, and I do covers of your songs, Andy. I'm sure you've heard me sing them before.
All on YouTube, yeah, I've heard.
Really good.
Really good
stuff. And Aija is a recording artist, songwriter, and actress, and among other things. Wait, you have some kind of midwifery background.
I do doula work
What's the difference between a doula and a midwife?
So a doula is more of like a emotional, spiritual coach through your birth.
Yeah.
A midwife has medical training.
Okay.
I have medical, certification, but not I haven't
let's
had
see
to
it.
pass.
Let me see your certificate.
I haven't had to
don't
pass legal tests about, how to give someone blood or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great.
I'm your birth coach. I'm your
Birth
manager.
coach. So you hold the hand and you're like, push, push.
Yeah, and I'm also when the doctor comes in and is like, we're going to give you this, I'm like, let me explain what that drug does to you. Before I help intervene, protect.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's pretty cool. We actually had a birth in here.
In this kitchen.
Right there.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. Our good friends Jamie and Natasha had their baby right there.
Yes.
Okay, we can't say that. I don't think we could say that.
Why?
What are you, crazy?
I don't know if we could say their names.
Hey, first of all, none of the
I don't know,
cut the stuff.
But I don't know if
This is open to the people.
She made a
This
cut
is a
motion
straight
on
line
her-
to
on her
the
throat.
ears. There's going to be no cutting. You're going to get the real deal here on the blog.
I don't think we can say Jamie Heath
You can't,
and Natasha Hugger Heath.
We can say whatever we want about them. Are you kidding me?
We can say their names.
Oh my God, definitely.
Friends. Yeah, we'll get their permission.
No, we won't. We'll just put it up.
How did that go? How did their birth go?
It was incredible. She's such a warrior. She's like the strongest woman. Yeah, she did a natural childbirth.
It was awesome.
In here, we tried to help her, and she
did
did the damn thing.
Yeah. And then there was just in our little nook here, there's a baby that's 5 minutes old. It was incredible.
That's crazy.
Really
yeah. I feel like I know what it's like to give birth because once I broke my little finger and I had to wait in the emergency room for 45 minutes before they would set it. So I just feel like
it was really
I feel like I know what that's like. You know?
Hard, yeah.
So what's going on? How did you guys meet?
You take it.
We met at music school. I was a music industry major. You were a jazz vocalist major.
Yeah.
And we kind of saw each other briefly in the hallways and stuff. And then I was rooming with this guy, Drew DeCaro, who's an incredible guitarist, who's now out with Miguel, who's awesome. And we were trying to start a band, and then we went and met her because we were trying to steal her bass player. So we went to her rehearsal and like tried to steal.
Andy showed up to my band rehearsal and was like scoping out my musicians. And you know, rehearsals is the place where you kind of make your mistakes and it's like safe zone. And he came in and I was like, yeah, can I help you with something? And he's like, oh, I'm just hanging out. I'm just friends with... Yeah. I was like, well, this isn't like a hangout space. We're working right now, so
yeah,
it's a little bit tense.
So that's the crappy kind of intense version.
But he did end up stealing my bass player.
And then the true version. So then we were just kind of friends and acquaintances for a while, and then my mom passed away, and I started doing this thing called Kathygrams on YouTube because there's that quote from the Baha'i Faith. I forget exactly what it is. This is what I should have. I should have it all ready to go.
Yeah.
But the idea that a good deed done in the honor of someone who's passed away helps them or pushes them forward. Yeah. So one of the ways that I tried to process my mom's death was doing these things. I'd be out at shows, and I would tell people, hey, like, if you have something going on or you know somebody who does, I'm going to start doing these Kathygrams. I'm going to write these quick, really fast songs, and I'll YouTube them to you. And so people would send me, my daughter... she doesn't have any arms and she does everything with her feet, and now because she's done that she has a back issue and she's going in for surgery. Could you write her this song? And it would just be like, oh my god, it's like a Tuesday morning and now I have to write, which I said I would, and I'm happy to do it. So then I did it really fast. It was like, we got your back till you get your back, and just sent it off real quick. And I was doing a lot of those, and it was really, really wonderful, and she saw that. So then she randomly was doing...
So at this time, I was going to music school with him, and I was doing nanny work because I like children and I do a lot of stuff with kids. So I was a nanny, and one of the families that I nannied for gave my phone number to an actor, and I guess I shouldn't say his name. They gave my phone number to an actor, and the actor was like, hey, I'm going to film a movie, and I'm going to be out of town for a few months. My father isn't doing well. He's on, the edge of he's fighting for his life. And my friend told me that you're really nurturing with their kids. Could I pay you to, like, hang out with him as he's, like, transitioning?
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah.
Super heavy.
So, and he's in the hospital. He's got nurses and stuff. I just want someone to, like, kind of hang out with him and, like, keep his spirits up and play chess. And so I was hanging out with this guy every day in the hospital, and he was totally coherent and founded one of the major, like, improv companies in Los Angeles. So he was hilarious. He was, like, really good timing. He was fun. And we just watched the SAG screeners and were, having talks about death. And it was really intense, amazing thing. So I called Andy, my friend, and I was like, hey, we got to do a Kathygram for this dude that I'm hanging out with. He's, like, not doing too well, and I feel like it would make him...
Did he know how long he was going to be alive? Like, oh, you're going to be dead in 3 months? Or is it just kind of like at some point in the next year?
No, it was like sometime in the next 3 months, you're probably not going to be around anymore.
Wow.
And he was super spiritual, so he was kind of okay with it. He was at peace. He had done a lot of work. Mm-hmm. He wasn't fighting it.
So we wrote this sweet little song, something about last romance, which was Aijia and him. And then we went in and sang it to him because, as Baha'is, we believe that, when you pass away, it's like, there's awesome stuff coming, right? Mm-hmm. And we went and played it, and his family was not ready for that.
They're all going like, you're going to be fine.
You're going to be fine. Everything's going to be cool. You're going to be good. And we come in and sing like, it's okay. Like, everything is okay. It's okay to die, which is pretty creepy and weird, I can see. And if they're not ready for that, and so it was super awkward, but we just did it anyway. Yeah. And the three of us, me, him, and her, were all on the same page. Yeah. It was really sweet.
He was really happy. And the family was like, don't come back.
Yeah. And kind of going through that process of writing.
Were you fired at that point then?
No. So at that point, it was kind of like the person who had hired me was the son. And the son, was having a hard time dealing with it. So he kind of just couldn't look at it. Like, he couldn't be around for it. He was just, he was the only child of this man, and he couldn't face it. So he sort of wasn't there for any of it. And the guy's aunts or cousins or nieces or whatever were the ones in the room kind of Like, don't tell him it's okay to die. It's not okay. He's going to be fine.
That being said, that was the way that we met, was over this kind of Kathy Graham.
Just sidestepping a little bit, like that is one of the truly saddest things I think about our contemporary culture is the fear and misunderstanding about death, the denial of death, the inability to talk about it or look at it when it's something that everyone has in common. I mean, literally, no two human beings probably have anything in common other than the fact that they will sometime die.
Yeah.
And it's such an integral part of life.
Have you ever been afraid of it?
Yeah, I get afraid of it sometimes. But, as a Baha'i, I believe that, when I'm called upstairs and I slough off this little human meat suit and float away in whatever peculiar way that is, that I haven't done everything that I can do with this life that I was given, that this gift of a life that I was given, that I'm going to be answerable to Baha'u'llah, to God, for my actions, for my choices. And I want to have a conversation where I can stand tall.
Sure.
I don't want to be filled with shame and regret and remorse. And I think there's always going to be regret and remorse for we could have done more with our life. I think there was a couple of decades there I'd really love to just excise from my life and not look at. And that's why I love, Justin Baldoni talking about My Last Days. That show we did on Soul Pancake is so powerful to really look at. Hey, we can get lessons about life from looking at death. We can learn about how to live and why to live and purpose and connection and God from looking at those last days of our life. So it's really it's an incredible opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never been afraid of it. I guess because I was raised a Baha'i and I was always kind of told from a young age that it's like incredible. There's the story of I think it was Abdul Baha who showed one believer at one point just a little glimpse of what it was like, and then he killed himself. Is that Kitabi hearsay? Have you heard that?
I've heard that story. I think it was Baha'u'llah, but I don't know.
Not sure. But I grew up with these stories and ideas. So anytime the plane shakes, I'm like, all right.
Yeah, it's really not. It's very unsettling the way Andy.
I just am okay with it.
Oh my God, that car almost hit us. He's like, it would be okay.
No. I don't have a death wish by any means, but I'm not scared to die, and especially having my mom pass away and having her be wherever she's at.
Now, since we're on this light subject of death, I want to talk to you about that, Andy, because I remember we were at the Changing Times conference in the Czech Republic.
Totally.
And wow. I don't know why I was there. You were there singing and being adored by the young Baha'is of Luxembourg. And and that's right when your mom passed and you left. And I know at that, I want to get into your recording career and your journey and into that separately, but that was a huge transition for you. A super powerful experience for you as an artist and human being. You were so close to her. She was such a spiritual titan. Everyone who talks about Kathy Graham is just in awe of the service that she did and the joy she brought to people. So you talk about peace with your own life. Were you able to find peace about her loss, or was that a difficult transition? What happened in that time?
Peace doesn't even really come into it for me. Yeah, there's always been peace around it. I think it's just still really difficult. The biggest thing, you get sent tests. For me, I had a fairly easy childhood. Right? Things came relatively easy to me. I was pretty good at sports, right? Pretty easy to be around. Not trying to sound like an asshole, but I'm just
he was homecoming king.
I was homecoming. It was just pretty easy, right? Mm-hmm. So you'd see someone who was upset or hurt, and you'd be like, I can't really connect to why you're hurt. I'm going to be a clown right now and try and cheer you up. That's what I know. But I don't have any understanding of why you would be that upset,
Like empathy.
Yeah, I didn't have true empathy. And so to get rocked with losing my mom, that was really important to be oh, okay. I was the quiet guy at the table for a year, which was super important. And I remember Yeah.
So that was a grieving process.
Yeah, totally. Just being the quiet guy at the table and not trying to be the life of the party, not trying to make everybody laugh, just kind of like seeing the other side of life a little bit.
How did it influence your art?
Yeah, in that nobody wants to hear everything's awesome, yay, because no one feels that way, really. They want to hear like life is super hard, and you know what? Keep your head up, because it feels better to do that, and it's a better way to live your life. Then everybody's like, totally. I can get down with that guy. Just the airy-fairy guy that's like, life is amazing. Like, I don't know if I buy that, because it's not always that way. So to me, it was really grounding to a lot of my art. Not that it has to be everything has to be rooted in pain, but just the true reality of what a good song can do comes from feeling, like some deeper grounded feeling. And my mom's death definitely did that for me.
Did you feel a connection with her after she passed away? Did you feel any kind of like communication? I mean, obviously, she spoke to you.
Yeah, it's so interesting. These things are really funny. Like, are you creating them yourself, or did it actually happen? I definitely had a couple dreams of her after she passed away, and they were just like, "Why aren't you praying?" And I was like, "Geez, okay." Wow. Am I doing that to myself, or is she actually like? When you go over or wherever you're going, do you get like one like phone call, like a prison phone call, like, "Hey, you can make one call," and she's like, "I see that Andy's not praying more." Make sure, pray more.
I just want to point out that your mom crossed over from the other side into your dream to tell you to pray more.
I know. Gosh, it's really intense.
You should have said, "No, I want lottery numbers."
Totally. When you look back, you're like, wow, that's pretty intense.
What about you, Aija? Do you have any thoughts on death? I know you became a Baha'i recently.
Yeah.
And did your feelings on death shift as after you became a Baha'i?
You know, I haven't had like a very close family member pass away. I've had friends or, you know, a neighbor that I loved or something like that. But I think I come from a Jewish background where, like, my grandparents were in the Holocaust, and there's a very deep-seated mentality in my genetic makeup that's like fearful of death, or fear of body, fear of like, I'm sick, something's wrong, you know?
Inevitable bodily decay.
And I feel like I spent a lot of my life like trying to understand why, like, is that me, or is that like some genetic thing? Because that was such a traumatic event that it like shook the like cells in our family. So I don't know. I think my relationship with death is like, if I know it would be coming for me, I would, you know, do a lot of work around it to accept it and deal and try to have less attachment to it. But I definitely feel like Andy's at a further along place than I am with that. And I don't know if that's just, like it's my genetic makeup a little that I'm trying to fix, because we're so neurotic on my side of the family.
That's what makes us a good team, really, in a nutshell. Is I'm a little bit more like, everything's going to be completely
He's not
fine.
super
Don't worry
safe
about anything.
all the
Don't
time.
lock the doors. Everything's going to be fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not like, he doesn't always think through to the like safest option.
So he's like, sit on my shoulders when I ride my motorcycle.
Yeah.
Because everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
I have made death a messenger of joy to thee.
Yeah.
Wherefore dost thou grieve?
Yeah. Yeah, cool, but like, you know, we should still get the insurance. The life insurance is like
Still
a smart move.
tie up your camels.
Tie up your camels.
So going back to your relationship, what was that like, Andy? You were then dating non-Baha'i Aija. Did that cause any issues? What was that? What were those first conversations like?
Ooh, fun.
Good.
So I was pretty familiar with the Baha'i Faith before we started dating. I knew he was my buddy. So if you meet Andy, you know what the Baha'i Faith is, because it's very a part of his, you know, everything. So I had been to devotionals at his house, and it wasn't like I didn't know what it was. I was very familiar with it. But I mean, definitely there were some like I'm sorry, wait, what is chastity? Like, come again. Could you explain that?
No pun intended. Sorry.
Could you elaborate exactly on what you're talking about?
Yeah.
So that was like a fun topic because that wasn't something that I had been raised with. I'm from LA. My family's very LA. My dad went to Fairfax High. And, when I told my parents that we were going to get engaged, or, we were talking about getting engaged, my dad was like, don't you guys want to live together first? It seems really, not smart to just... Mm-hmm. So I'm just coming from, I was raised very different. Mm-hmm. So the chastity thing was, definitely something we had to overcome.
I wrote her a pretty awesome essay.
He wrote me an essay.
You wrote an essay about chastity?
Yes, I'll show it to you.
To your fiance?
Yes.
Oh, can we put that online?
We weren't engaged yet. It was it literally had a title page.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
By Andy Grammer.
It said, Why We Wouldn't Just Do the Damn Thing by Andy Grammer.
Yeah. I think, when we talk about this topic of what was it like, even the word non-Baha'i to me is there's no other way to say it, but it's hilarious to me. And I think that for us, it was a really good case of breaking down these barriers of what someone is. So for her, because I labeled myself a Baha'i, she thought that I was this super Puritan that was had all these incredible morals. And I try to have as many as I can. And I try to be a great person. But there's not, I don't know, we just are finding each other through these glasses that we had of each other was really a sweet one. Where I'm going okay, so she doesn't call herself a Baha'i, but she does more service than anybody I know. How do I wrestle with that? What does that mean? Yeah, she has a glass of wine when we hang out, but she's it's the most fruitful relationship spiritually that I've ever had, and I've dated other Baha'is. So then what do these labels matter at all? And for her, she's going oh, he's not super boring, I guess.
I thought he was
Is that what you thought I was?
Yeah.
What's your side?
I thought you were uptight.
Yeah.
Because I thought, it's all these rules,
yeah.
I think also the alcohol was a barrier for me because I grew up. My family would pour me a glass of wine at the dinner table when I'm 19. That's just how I was raised. Kind of European energy. It's very free and whatever.
Yeah.
So
you said your dad's Tunisian?
My dad's from North Africa, Tunisia, but he was raised in LA here since he was a kid, and so he kind of looks mixed. If you saw him walking down the street, you'd probably be that guy's mixed. He has cornrows at the moment. Yeah. But Tunisia is a French state, so I'm a French citizen as well. And, so it was just a little bit of a, the same mentality in some ways, in a lot of ways that overlapped, but from very different upbringings. And
so I think it's very interesting about, if you're a young Baha'i and you're who do I want to date? Who am I looking into? What, we all have so many things that we're going through, dealing with, struggling with, our good parts about our bad parts about ourselves. And I think a lot of times we can get cut off from other people on things that are not that important. Yeah,
I know a lot of Baha'is that I feel wouldn't date someone that's not a Baha'i. They wouldn't even go, they just would be I'm just not going to get started there. And I feel from my perspective, I feel that's doing yourself a big disservice because you don't know where someone is in their spiritual journey. You don't know where someone is in their, they may have done a lot more work than you, but have never heard of certain things, and so they've never been exposed to it. And that shouldn't...
I feel like a married couple is on a spiritual journey together, and they're supporting each other's spiritual and physical journey through this life and emotional journey. And whether they're a Baha'i or not, as long as you're familiar with their character and you're on the same path, it's so not important. My wife didn't become a Baha'i until we were married for over 10 years.
Yeah.
Really?
And and it was really the Ruhi series of books that really changed her mind about the Baha'i Faith when she started sitting down and really learning the quotes and working with a really diverse room of loving incredible, fun Baha'is, and we did the first 2 books, and that's right when she had our son, and she was like, she had kind of some mystical experiences and some really powerful things happen, and but it really was. I know there's a lot of Ruhi kind of doubters out there still in the Baha'i community, but I've seen it work firsthand so many times.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than just sitting down in a circle and studying the Word of God. Did you do Ruhi classes?
I did. I felt, so at that point, you know, Andy's like kind of known in the Baha'i community here in LA. So I felt always like a little bit of pressure just to like, I just wanted to like learn about it with everyone to back off a little bit.
Yeah.
Everyone back off.
Aija, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm like, why don't you just back the F off? So I didn't feel like I wanted to do that here with people in this community until I sort of had my own feelings about it. So I actually did it via Skype.
You did Skype Ruhi?
I did Skype Ruhi every
Skuhi?
Sunday with some...
Skuhi.
I did Skuhi with a Baha'i from Wilmette and a Baha'i from Wisconsin. And the 3 of us got on group Skype every week. And we did it on Sunday morning.
That's so awesome that you had the willingness, though, to dig in, to say, you know, I'm going to explore this and get to know it because I really care about this guy.
I wanted to do it like... I don't know, for some reason I wanted to learn about it, but I wanted it to be on my... I just wanted a clean slate.
Yeah.
And there were people that I didn't know, and it was like, I was just like this new person on the other side of the country. I didn't come with any, you know, attachment, and it was great. And those people I still talk to. And
oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So what was that like becoming a Baha'i?
So I've been... It's funny.
I know it's been a long process.
It's been a long,
arduous,
slow
some struggles,
journey.
some, yeah.
I think for me, the way that I was raised is very... So I'm ethnically Jewish. My mom was raised Catholic, and then kind of they got out of Catholicism and they moved to LA, and they sort of got into the new agey, spiritual, whatever, the mucky muck of LA. And then now my dad is like a Buddhist and wants to talk about Buddhism and is very like, he would always take me to the ashram here in LA. And so to me, the Baha'i Faith wasn't that far of a jump because I had been raised to have understanding.
Well, it has aspects of all of those things. It's got a lot of Buddhism thrown in. It's kind of a...
Yeah, absolutely.
A jambalaya of New Age and Buddhism with some Catholicism and Judaism, Abrahamic stuff. So
I thought, you know, if when I started learning about the Baha'i Faith, and it was like kind of the cacophony of all of these teachings in, you know, put together, and they're sort of like, you know, in succession of each other. It wasn't that foreign of a concept to me because that's kind of what we just didn't have a name for it, but that's how I was raised. So I didn't see the need to... I just had an issue with the label. But it sort of was a bit ridiculous because if you looked at the way that I was living was very much in alignment with the Baha'i teachings. I already had made the decision prior in my life that I didn't want to drink alcohol anymore. So that wasn't like a piece of it. You know, we abstained, you know, from having sex until we got married. So that was like not a piece of it. So in a lot of ways I've been already living my life that way, but I just couldn't, I don't know, I just didn't want the label for some reason.
Sure.
There's a lot of that right now.
Yeah, I think that's very culturally prevalent. People are like, oh, I just don't want to be a part of an organized religion.
Sure.
And I don't want to sign my name on a card, or I don't want to be like a card-carrying member of a thing, or just identify like I am this. Especially in kind of secular Los Angeles, where it's all about the search, it's all about the quest, and you can find some truth in this yoga class, and you can find some truth in this meditation practice, and you can find some truth by going to this, you know, church choir or whatever it is. And it's very understandable. I mean, I think it's a reaction to centuries of what are you? well, I'm a Methodist, or I'm a Baptist, or I'm an Anabaptist, or I'm a Reformed Jew, or and it's these labels.
I think there's also just a lot of a kind of a tide of understanding what man has done wrong with religion, and if you're not attached to a group, then you can't be a part of that thing that has been done terrible.
Yeah, I think there's that. I also think that there's this piece that somehow we feel like family, like our religion ties us to our family. Like that makes us like a clan, you know? And so there was this piece of like, oh, am I leaving my family behind, or am I like disassociating from them in some way? And I think at some point, one of the factors that sort of switched me over was my mom. I had never used the phrase "I'm a Baha'i," and my mom sort of said something to me like, "Oh, well, blah 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 blah, because you're a Baha'i." Like, well, you don't do that because you're a Baha'i. And I realized that I was already being perceived that way, anyways, regardless of if I was putting the label on or not. So really, what's the effing difference? Like, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, but it wants to call itself a chicken, then like, go ahead, chicken. We'll call you a chicken.
That's the best spiritual metaphor ever. But what did you love about the Baha'i Faith? What attracted your heart to it the most?
I have a personal connection to the writings. And what I really liked about the Baha'i Faith was it's centered on the writings and the teachings and not the figure. For me, that was a big piece of it. It's not about...
it's not pictures of Baha'u'llah on the walls.
It's not about like the icon of the guy who said the thing. Where I feel like in some other religions, a lot of the focus gets put on that. And then it's like I have hard time connecting to it because I don't know that guy and I didn't see him and I'm like, who's that guy? But for me, the Baha'i Faith is really all about the writings. And when I see how people are putting it into practice, they're having like study circles and they're doing ruhi and they're doing devotionals. And it's all about like, hey, let's dig into this quote or let's talk about what this prayer is about. And that is... for me, I felt like, well, you can't really argue with that because it's like, it's universal truths. And when I read that, I agree with what he's saying. So there's no discrepancy here for me, as opposed to when it's so much the focus about the guy, whoever that guy is. And it's like pictures everywhere. And it feels a little bit like, yeah, but like the point of the guy was what he's talking about. So why is that not all over the wall? You know?
Right. You feel that way sometimes. I feel that way with Christianity sometimes. Is what Christ said is important in Christianity.
Right.
But it's not really the most important thing.
Right.
There's all of these other kind of dogmas and ceremonies and belief systems and hierarchies. And, well, this is the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, and the arisen Son, and the, kind of some catchphrases that Jesus didn't even say.
And the same thing could be said for Judaism. I feel like it's a little less focused on maybe one of the prophets and more about like the tradition, and it's all about the ritual and the tradition. And because I went to Hebrew school and I was taught to read and write Hebrew, and it was like all about...
Say something in Hebrew.
Shalom. You're stressing me out right now. I don't know.
Can you sing Keep Your Head Up in Hebrew? I'll give you $50.
Like, how about this? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
There you go. Okay. But it's great because you get to say to your mom, like, I'm Jewish and I'm a Baha'i. You get to say to your dad, I'm Buddhist and I'm a Baha'i.
Yeah.
And you get to say to both of them, I'm New Agey, spiritual, and I'm a Baha'i.
I feel like Judaism will always be my ethnicity. Mm-hmm. That's where I come from. That's my heritage. That's like, there's foods that go along with Judaism, and there's like, we do Pesach, and we do the like prayers with the, it's my history, my culture. Mm-hmm. So I don't think I'll ever not be Jewish. But
Baha'is have foods too. It's called potluck.
Yeah. Potluck style. Lots of rice.
I was a Baha'i growing up in the 70s, and you probably remember this in the 80s when you grew up, like, just all the potlucks.
So much
potluck. Come on with the potlucks.
A lot of potluck. Wow. I was East Coast potluck, so it was like tortellini and stuff. It was good.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mine was West Coast white trash potluck. So it was tater tot casserole.
Oh, gross.
And mac and cheese and
no.
tuna casserole.
It was casseroles for sure. And hot dogs and like lasagna.
So Aija, you're a singer.
Yeah.
You're a songwriter. Mm-hmm. You write songs for yourself and your band. You've tried several different kind of styles of music I've heard over the years. You act as well. You audition and act and TV and film and theater as well. And so what was that like being an artist and then becoming a Baha'i? And I'm just wondering if it influenced you at all, or was it just kind of more of the same on the same journey? What's that link between creating beautiful music and spirituality?
Sure. I definitely feel like I do a lot of co-writing with other artists and other writer-producers, where sometimes I'm writing for the other person. So they'll throw me in with like an engineer that's maybe 50 and a 16-year-old girl, and I'm sort of there to bridge the gap and try to pull out what they have to say. So I feel like part of how that's influenced me is I'm not willing to say like, I'm not willing to talk about content that's really, like, empty. And while sometimes you'll get in the room with someone and that's their experience and they don't really have that much to say, and so it ends up being a little bit vapid, maybe. Like, there's a difference between, like, vapid material and material that's, like, not ethically aligned with what I feel. And so I feel like the Baha'i Faith has sort of shaped me in that way. I had a co-write recently, just like what I said, which was with a bunch of guys and a young girl. And the girl was young and kind of she wasn't really very sure of herself, and she was just kind of like blowing whichever way the wind in the room went. And the guys kept suggesting these lyrics that were very like sexual, but like overly sexual, and she was young, and I just didn't feel like it just wasn't her vibe. It wasn't what she was putting off. She didn't look comfortable with it, and so I kept like going like, how about this instead? And then finally, it was like at a point where I felt like I had to I was like, hey, what you guys are suggesting is like really super kind of sexist. She's under 18. This is all messed up. Like, I'm not doing this, so if you want me here, then I'm leaving, or we have to, like, get this kind of online. I don't know if that's, like, I might have said that 5 years ago, or more, before I was a Baha'i, but I feel like the Baha'i Faith has sort of, like, tuned me in with what I'm comfortable and not comfortable with, and I don't really give a crap if it looks bad. I'll just say it, because that's not in alignment with what I am about.
That's awesome. This is where I sound like a grumpy old man. I think like so many lyrics in pop music today. I mean, if you just look at the lyrics, forget the production and the melodies, which are amazing.
Sure.
And things can sound like really super fresh, but my God, the lyrics are just read them.
Yeah.
And everything is just lowest common denominator, basest, shallowest. It's just, it's body and hookups or it's violence or it's ego. It's just kind of the worst of humanity coming out in pop music. And that's why and that's me as a grumpy, I'm 50 years old, so I guess. Although, in the 70s when I grew up, we were listening to like Van Halen and Billy Squier singing Stroke Me,
Exactly.
And Let's Get Down Tonight. So it's not that the lyrics were like all so, really great back then. But so Andy, you do that as a pop singer. That's demeaning to say you're a pop singer, isn't it? Is it?
No.
You do. That's okay to say? Okay. I was afraid all of a sudden I was like, is he going to punch me?
No, it's all right.
Because
it's popular music.
What's your take on this too? Because like sometimes you want to write a song about a sexual, like, that's happening in people. It's like an experience that people are having, And
the Baha'i version is like, let's get it on with my wife. Baby.
So I made a deal with myself. I mean, this is the line that you're always dealing with, right? Is how do you represent yourself as a Baha'i, but then not take yourself so seriously that you can't make some real art? Because if I've had this, I know you had Laylee on your show. Me and her go at it pretty consistently in the most loving way. She's like, I love her to death, and I respect her so much. So her opinion like really counts when we talk. And I err on the side of go after what's true, your true experience first, and with all your flaws and everything, and then deal with sharing that later and see what, who is this really hurting? Let's weigh it out. I just think that it'd be interesting to hear what your opinion is. It's a little bit different as an actor, right? Because you're playing someone. It's a little less autobiographical sometimes. Like for me, I had a big breakthrough song on my last record called Holding Out, where I wrote a song about waiting until marriage to have sex. And for me, it was like the only chance I have to actually do this as a real piece of art is to tell the true, honest story. And the line that came out first, writing that song, was a little bit of prayer, a little bit of porn. And you're like, all right, well, there's something that feels wonderful about just being super honest. So I wrote it out. And then but while I was writing that song, I'm like, man, is this okay? Are there going to be a lot of like Baha'i children that are going to be really upset? Are the parents going to like ban Andy Grammer records because he's sharing this?
I'd love to have a CD burning, a Baha'i CD burning of Andy Grammer's
Yeah, he was really stressed out about it.
But it really helped me because it's not helping if we're lying. Art is supposed to like make people look at things different. They're supposed to feel like, oh, you get it too, right? And I think that a lot of times, there's a lot of bashing that goes on about like Christian rock or something like that. And there are bands in the Christian rock zone. And the only reason I say Christian rock is because that's my only reference point to music that's overly spiritual. The point of music is to relate. So in interviews, the thing I always say is like Newton wrote out what gravity was. Apple fell on his head. He did the mathematical equation to write it out, and then everyone's like, yes, this is happening to me every single day. Everywhere I go, gravity's happening. You nailed it. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever read, because this is like the most essential piece of my life you wrote out in a form. And so for me, that's what songwriting is supposed to be. You're supposed to get what the true experience is. And if I am too worried about how I'm coming across, my art will blow chunks. And so I don't want my art to blow chunks. I also don't want anyone who's listening to not feel connected with me. And the more I'm finding that I dive into my flaws, the more the connection and the more the ear leans in. And so that balance between how do I still uphold a standard and not just go like, cool, it's fine. Go watch porn. Andy said it's great. Just do it. Like
as long as I pray.
As long as I pray. Like that's totally not what I'm saying. But I have to figure out how to be honest about my process. Like,
well,
let's be honest.
You in Honey, I'm Good is a song about basically saying like, I've got a woman that I love at home, so I'm not going to hang out with you,
totally,
waitress, because I could get myself into trouble. And I imagine there was some controversy around that.
You want to know the biggest controversy for me was that I live my life as a Baha'i in the world, and I don't go around in every turn being like, I'm not doing this because I'm a Baha'i, or I just live my life in this world that has the way it works. So, there's a line in Honey, I'm Good. It's like, I could have another, but I probably should not. To me, that's a passage of time that everybody deals with. Is like, should I stay? For me, it's a soda water. Do I want another soda water with lime or not? I know that's going to be taken by many people. Do you want another alcoholic beverage? But I don't have time in music to be like, I could have another Perrier, but I probably should. Like, I can't. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell my truth. And then let the world take it. It is a point you can see I get intense about it because like it's very interesting. I think that I get very intense about truth, whether that makes me look bad or not.
Your dad's a singer-songwriter, kids' music mostly, family music. What was that like growing up with him? Did he inspire your quest for truth in pop music?
I don't think that he inspired. He inspired many other things. I don't think he liked that line in that song either. He never liked Holding Out's not his favorite song.
course not.
He can't get it. He's like, you lost me there. And I'm okay with that. Like, for certain people, that's okay. What he did inspire was a love of bringing a room together. Both my parents knew how to do that. The process of writing something alone in your room and then watching it become something that everybody can sing together. He inspired. I mean, I pretty much stole everything from him. So I can say that. But as far as like the quest for truth, I think, we're all figuring that out. And there's a lot of Baha'i artists on the front line of like, how do you create something that is real and then still be a role model while being brutally honest? That's a dance for sure.
Yeah, it's something I've struggled with. I've had a lot of Baha'is get very mad at me at some of the things that I've done and said. And, like swearing is something that I do way too much. Yeah. And I just have held on to it from my decade as when I left the faith. And maybe it's the one vice I allow myself, but I shouldn't. But it really came to me about a year ago on Twitter. I'm like, man, I'm way too foul on Twitter. And if there's 14-year-old Baha'is listening in Mesa, Arizona, then I really need to be more of a standard holder. And I don't want to sound all goody two-shoes, but I like to keep it real. It's that weird balance of...
This is the thing. And I've said it many times. I'll just say it again. The problem is that art is supposed to... There's no supposed to. The art that I love to watch, that I love to listen to, that I love to see, is the stuff that relates to me, right? So if we go make some sort of Baha'i art that it is like this idealistic thing, you can't relate to it because it's not what everybody's going through. The whole thing of like you're not supposed to be just a monk on the top of a hill that's like, I'm away from it, I'm not dealing with it. The hard part is like, go into the world and mess with this stuff and fight through it, and maybe it's not perfect all the time, but that is the whole thing. My thing is in a writing room when someone says something like a line that is maybe too aggressive or drops an F-bomb, it is now on... when I get stressed out is when it feels great, right? When they say a line that's aggressive but like I connect to, then I'm like, oh man, I need to beat that somehow without using the F word, which is hard because the F word has so... You know what I mean?
Dude, you dropped an F-bomb on Baha'i Blog.
I just did. I know. This is the issue, is that you're like, we're constantly trying to be a part of the world while being not a part of it. And that is as a part of art as well. Right?
Yeah. So,
I probably in my life right now, I'm leaning a little too far.
We cuss. There's a lot of bad words in this house.
We need to
but there's no alcohol, so hey, you win some, you lose some.
How do you guys? How do you write a song?
I think it's different.
Is it a riff or a lyric? Or an idea?
For me, I usually do lyric and melody together. Because I think certain melodies don't go with certain concepts. Like if you're playing something and it feels super happy, you're not going to write like a sad breakup song over that.
Unless you want to, for the effect.
Yeah. So I do them together. I don't know. How about you? I very rarely start at the piano anymore. It's like almost always in the studio. Like it starts with the production.
Yeah, I think a lot of times for me it's you have a lot of notes in both areas. So you have notes about concepts, words that make you feel interesting, dealing with whatever I'm going through, and then you have a lot of musical things. So a guitar riff, piano riff, a beatbox, or something like that, and then you get together and you start kind of.
How do you sing and beatbox at the same time?
I don't think that's possible. Well, there's like one guy, Razel, right? Razel does it.
No, you do it.
You go like, just like that, yeah.
Do a little beatboxing part.
There we go, on the blue mic. Crush it. Yeah.
Boom. I do want to get to a couple other things before we wrap this up. Andy, your story is incredible. The story of you playing at the 3rd Street Promenade and sometimes taking home $8.
Totally.
Sometimes taking home 80, and sometimes taking home 300, but just never knowing what you're studying songwriting, working your butt off for so long. There was so much perseverance about your story as an artist, and I especially love the story about how you wrote the song "Keep Your Head Up." Can you just talk to the audience a little bit about that? I think perseverance is a great spiritual virtue that
Totally.
I really connect with as well, and I'd love to hear about how you went through that. There's very few people that have found international pop stardom.
Yeah, from the promenade.
Starting from street busking.
Yeah. You know, it's so interesting, like, what's really funny, I just had a conversation yesterday with, and I've been, I'll give the real, so, super side note, I'm also, the way that when someone tells me all these accolades, in the Baha'i Faith, I have all these different friends that are of different backgrounds and colors and stuff like that. So it is interesting for me to hear that, and then like have these awesome conversations with one of our good friends about like, I'm also super privileged, right? So I deal with that on a daily basis. I'm a white man. So yes. But I still worked super hard on the street. And yeah, man, I think that it's just about finding, it all comes down to service. It's like, how am I providing you a service? And the love for doing that through music is an addiction that I have. And I've had it since I was really little with my dad when he would invite me up on stage to sing at his kids' shows. And I would wait and then try to really deliver my line and make the crowd
What
happy.
would you sing on those kids' shows?
Fish to Catch was my line.
Okay, go ahead, sing it.
I would just wait, stand in the back, and then I'd step forward and go like, fish to catch! And then I'd step back. And I'd be like...
But didn't he have you come up and actually like sing and show off your little golden pipes?
that was my opportunity. And then we would, on the ride home...
This is a real story thing.
In the ride home in the minivan, I looked to my dad and I was like, kind of the way that your boss brings you in after, to like talk about something. I'm sitting with my dad and I'm like, I'm going to need to be a bigger part of your show.
He said that.
Yeah.
And Red brings it up all the time because he actually said
that. And then I was also like, and this is kind of, I don't know even how to feel about this, but I think I was 7 and I was kind of like looking out the window going like, I'm gonna be bigger than you.
Wow.
Bold, right? And my dad was like, and he talks about it and he goes like, I mean, it's this weird balance of like, of course you want your son to say that, but also like, you're a little brat right now. Just shut up.
Your white privilege.
Yeah. You gotta chill out, bro. So I think really, like to answer your question, the perseverance came from this desire to be of service. And in music, what that means is when you start playing music, the listener is giving you a service. All right, so I'm playing and you're not really doing anything for me, but you seem like a nice guy. And now my ears are giving you this time and energy. And being out on the street for over 4 years, you start to see like, all right, well, when I play my own music, you're doing me the service. When I play Sunday Morning by Maroon 5, that's the one thing I have where I'm now doing you a service. And I can feel that shift occur and people stop and everything's cool. So now it's like, okay, I feel that. Now I just have to figure out how to write songs to now still be giving you the service. And that long process led to, writing Keep Your Head Up and then writing my first album, which was basically the first batch of songs I'd ever written that were now providing a service for people.
Every once in a while, we'll get like young songwriters or kids that are trying to break into the music industry and they'll ask for advice. And that's like the one thing that we always try to say is, how can you figure out how for you to be sending me your music is not me doing you a service by like listening to it? Can you find a way that you're like reaching people because you're offering something other than like, hey, can you listen to my 20 songs that I wrote and give me advice? Like, how do you switch that?
And even it goes beyond the music. I remember I was working in a club called the Viper Room just because it kind of had a name that was cool. So I would go do something. I would go book these acoustic nights, which was basically just a small room that could fit 15 people, so that I could say that I worked at the Viper Room. So when I meet somebody in LA, I go, I'm not just this annoying person. I'm like, I can offer you you got any music? Now I can be in the scene and have something to offer. How can you be of service is like step one in how to do this.
That's great. And what happened with Keep Your Head Up there was a specific day that inspiration came to you, right?
Oh yeah, totally. So I just gone through a whole day of no tips, which is a very long day. That's like 8 hours of being out there, and it was like a little bit rainy, and so no one was feeling generous. and you're just kind of out there with radio silence, just like playing, and people are just walking by, no one cares. So then I packed up all my stuff and looked up to the sky and was just like, your move. You know, my mom had just recently passed away, a fairly rainy day, street performing. And I legitimately looked up at the sky and just said, I'm not leaving, so your move. Like, I'll be here tomorrow. And then I went home and wrote, keep your head up. You know, it's awesome.
And was it a lyric, a song, a melody that came into your head around that?
No, it was like, man, I could really use a pick-me-up right now. I guess I'll try to write one for myself, you know. That's kind of how it works.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
What do you guys love the most about being married?
Being married is like a slumber party every day.
Yeah.
It really is. That's what I always tell people. Like, it's like a slumber party every day.
That feels like a quote you'd see on Pinterest.
Yeah, totally.
I think,
that's what it is.
Yeah, it's great to have your best friend around all the time. I think we're also...
Wait till he gets older and starts snoring.
Totally. And people always ask us, like, man, how do you do it? He's gone a lot. And they give you the slow breath in, like...
Are you okay? Are you going to be okay?
How do you do it?
Well, and I travel a lot, too, so we're kind of always in different places.
I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions. It's one of the things that keeps it really, really exciting, you know? Is, you know, like right now the schedule for me is that I'm gone pretty much on the weekends, and I'm home during the week. So when I come back on Monday, it's like, I love you, I miss you, I haven't seen you, you know? Yeah. I think for me, one of the best parts of being married is that there's a lot of things she's incredible at that I'm horrible at. Like this house, for example. You know, you just showed up at our house. I would have never gotten this house. I would have never cared about the tiles. I would have never done any of this. And now when I come off tour and I'm home, I'm just so grateful that I have somebody who's cares about stuff like this.
Yeah. I think for me, Andy's like really good at a lot of the things that I'm crappy at. So, while he's naming like house things, which is really sweet, thank you. I think like I can be very judgy, and Andy's really like taught me, and the faith has taught me how to sort of not do that because it's not helping anything. And also just his sort of like carefreeness, everything will work out, everything's fine, like his sort of leave the doors unlocked mentality. I need a little bit of that because I can be a little just a little nervous about things. You know, I'm like cautious. I'm careful. And he like kind of lightens me up.
Just nervous all
That's
the time.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So question I ask everyone is, I try to remember to ask everyone, is what is your favorite Baha'i quote or saying?
Totally. Can I look this one up? This is my favorite. The fact that it's my favorite and I don't know it offhand is a little bit disconcerting. It's the one about envy. It's the hidden word about envy. I could butcher it, but I might as well just bring it up here. It's interesting to find quotes or writings or readings that actually you can feel them help you in the moment. And so this one for me is, O son of earth, know verily the heart wherein the least remnant of envy yet lingers shall never attain my everlasting dominion, nor inhale the sweet savors of holiness breathing from my kingdom of sanctity. I actually don't think I'm a very jealous person, but I am in a career that lends itself to being jealous about many different things, or an opportunity somebody gets that you're like, how did they get that? And I feel it. You know, and so this quote for me, I read it consistently, and I can actually feel the envy drop off me. And it just helps to remind me that like, oh, I'm all stressed out about this, and I'm 100% in the wrong mind space. I don't need to worry about it. I mean, it goes, wherein the least remnant of envy yet lingers. Remnant to me is you've already cleared it all out. Like you've scraped it clean, but there's still like a drip there. And you know, he's saying like that, even that, not cool. So this one really helps me.
Aija?
Yeah. Okay, so I feel like this isn't the most exciting quote because a lot of people know it, but every time it just applies to everything for me, which is where there is love, nothing is too much trouble, and there is always time. And every single time I try to find a situation that doesn't apply, it just always applies. And I also really like that quote because for me, coming from like not being raised Baha'i, I really like quotes that I feel like are easily reachable for people that aren't Baha'is. And I feel like that one in particular is really like a nice, gentle, like, here's what we're about. And also, like, it's very clear about its message. And I also think, I don't know, it gets me out of whatever pity party thing I don't want to do and just goes like, yeah, but where there's love, like, there's time. So just make it work and suck it up. Yeah. So that's kind of been like the quote that's prevalent in our house.
So you want us to sing that quote right now? Shall we? First, what has to happen is the obligatory argument that we have about what key it's in, and she gets really, really frustrated. So
we've played this song about, 835 times, and Andy doesn't ever remember what key it's in. So he starts in a key that's really comfortable for his voice,
right?
As a man.
Okay.
And
so you're like, where there's love.
And he doesn't really ask. He just like sort of starts playing, and then we're in front of people in a weird key.
I first heard you guys play this song at Justin Baldoni's wedding.
Yeah.
And I think you wrote it for that, right? Was that the first time you played it?
Actually, we wrote it for our wedding.
Oh.
And we did it at our wedding, which was, I think...
It's funny, I never got that invitation. What happened with that?
Oh, it must have
gotten lost in the mail.
Must have just gotten lost.
Huh.
Yeah, we did it at our wedding, and it worked, and that was kind of the first try, and then we did it Justin's.
All right, so we're in Andy Grammer and Aija's kitchen at a kitchen island.
Where there is love.
And we're just moving right into a little music session right here without even cutting. This is how we roll.
Just right next to the fridge.
All right.
There's a baby in here. Where there is love, where there is love, nothing is too much trouble. Nothing is too much trouble. And where there is love, where there is love, nothing is too much trouble. Nothing is too much trouble. And there is always time. 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 Where there is love, where there is love, nothing is too much trouble. Nothing is too much trouble. And where there is love, where there is love, nothing is too much trouble. Nothing is too much trouble. And there is always time. There is always time. There is always time. Oh. There is always time. There is always time. There is always time.
Just gorgeous. Thanks so much, Andy Grammer and Aija. Thanks for talking with me.
The best. Awesome. You know who you should do is my dad. You know my dad, Red Grammer?
No.
Red Grammer's he's the real deal. He's a good one. He's good.
Nice, good idea.
Yeah, you should interview him. He'd be super into this.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Red, I'm going to call you. Thanks for listening to Baha'i Blogcast. Hope you enjoyed the episode and the conversation. Check out more fun Baha'i stuff on Baha'iBlog.net. Thank you so much